this is where you put the information about the database. And in your case, you can just put localhost and whatever username and password for the localhost database is. Now, if you have a server that hosts the database, you can also put that here. For example, if you have like server.village88.com, you can put that here and put the MySQL username and password, and it can access those that database remotely. But in this case, we're just going to do localhost. I think the username for my localhost is just root, and password is, I think, just blank. So you can just leave that, and you don't have to change any of the other settings. Those should be just fine. Okay, so now that you got the config and the database file working, you're ready to go. And later you could read about hooks. This is pretty interesting. You can also read about autoload. Autoload, you can do this so that before certain things happen, well, before any of the programs are called, you have it by default load whatever libraries or helpers you want. So that could be handful, but it's not absolutely critical. The most important files are config.php and database.php. Okay, so now that you got that, actually, another important setting is within, I believe, config.php. Let's see. Now, it's actually in routes.php. So you're not going to use this a lot, but I guess in the beginning, notice how the default controller is set as welcome. Let's change this. So let's say that we want this change to user. Okay, so change it to user. And now let's create some functions so that we can demonstrate how the model view and the controller works. So notice how, okay, we can just delete whatever is over here. We'll just leave that. So we're going to create a new file called user.php. And notice how in the route.php I set the default as the user controller. So do you know what, actually, let me see if I can, let's do this. Let's leave the welcome.php so that we can use that as a reference. So I'm going to open welcome.php and user.php. Copy the welcome.php, put that into user, and we will modify this in the file. You don't need to close the class with this. It just does it automatically. And then we're going to create a class called user. First letter is always capitalized, and then it's an extension of the default CodeIgniter controller, so we're not going to do anything there. And then let's do some example. Okay, so let's do index dot, okay, let's do index, and when people come here, we'll say, hello, this is user controller index function. Okay, let's create some other functions, and we're gonna do edit, and then what are we gonna do? Edit. Let's do show function, and this is the edit function. Okay. Okay, now that that is done, believe it or not, you got a complete program. And if I go to test localhost index.php, I think I need to put a slash here, and I'm trying to access user controller, and let's just go to that. Notice how we call the index function. If I do user show, it calls the show function, and if I do edit,